Welcome to the Super Simple Homeschool Podcast, where I help you find purpose in your homeschool while keeping it super simple. I'm your host, Jenny Hedrick. I'm a homeschool mom to 3 and mental health therapist of 20 years. Today on the podcast, I am sharing a preview of my course, CAN Homeschool. This is one of the videos included in the course, and it is all about how to get started homeschooling if you are starting from the very beginning. In the previous episode, I shared the video on how to get started homeschooling if you are making the transition from public school. You can purchase the full course, including 13 videos covering everything you need to know to homeschool simply and purposefully at my website. Use code PODCAST for $10 off. Hello and welcome back to the How to Homeschool course. I'm your host, Jenny Hedrick, and this is session 2. And this is the session 2 for those of you who are starting homeschooling from the beginning. So if you are not starting at the beginning, but you are starting by pulling your children out of school, then you're going to want to watch the alternative session 2 video, which is taking your kids out of school. But if you are here because you are starting at the beginning, I know that I am probably speaking to a parent of a 3, 4, or 5-year-old child who is excited to get started homeschooling and maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed. I know that because that was me when I had my oldest son, who was 4, almost 5, and I was so excited to get started with him, and we enrolled him in our public enrichment program one day a week, and I got the curriculum, and I was so pumped to get started, and I learned a lot through that process. And the number one thing that I learned and wished I had done differently was wait. Now, I'll tell you, this is so hard to do when you're excited to start homeschooling, but the reality is that it's okay in these early years just to play, explore together, and read books. You don't need to start with any type of curriculum or any formal learning really until the age of 7. Now, this may be different depending on the legal requirements in your state, but studies are showing that kids who wait until they're 7, 8, and 9 do better at school than those who start earlier. And the reason for that is developmentally, kids just need a lot of play and reading prior to age 7 or so. So even though you're excited and you're ready to get going, that's fine. You can spend your time doing some research and looking at different programs and curriculums. But with your kids for now, just play, go exploring, and read books. Lots and lots and lots of books. I'm going to give you a resource for that in a few minutes here. All right, while you're getting ready to start homeschooling, know the legal requirements of your state. There are 2 resources here linked on this page, and these are the 2 resources for you that I recommend for your legal reference. The first is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. Now, the HSLDA is going to have a page for every state of the union, and it is going to tell you exactly what the legal requirements are in that state. So be sure you check that out and familiarize yourself with the homeschooling requirements in your area. If you join as a member of the HSLDA, they do provide legal counsel and defense in situations where your child's education is being questioned or threatened. All right, Heritage Defense is the other one. Heritage Defense is also a Christian organization for homeschoolers, and a membership with Heritage Defense is going to provide you legal counsel and defense in the case of a Child Protective Services visit or report for something like medical neglect or any other parental right issue. So they're not going to deal specifically with the schooling, but they will deal with any other legal issue that might come up for you and your family. So be sure to check into both of those membership options. All right, in the early years, ages 3 through 5, start simply. Just start working on your alphabet, counting from 1 to 20, read lots of books, play and explore together, and get outside. Okay. Don't start worrying about what program you're going to use or buying up a bunch of curriculum, because at these ages, you really just need to play, and their brains developmentally need play and exploration more than anything else. So start there before you worry about anything else. Remember, when you're homeschooling, school isn't a race. There is no behind in homeschool. So oftentimes I see moms putting pressure on themselves to keep or get their kids to grade level, to follow some set of standards that are put on by the education system, or some other sort of false ideas. And I really want to encourage you here to think about why the reasons are that you're homeschooling. Because my guess is one of them is so that you can teach your child at their level and at their pace. It's one of the beauties of homeschooling. So start practicing right from the beginning, learning that there is no behind, and not to compare yourself with other homeschoolers or with other kids in the public school system or private schools as well. There's no behind in homeschool. It's one of the joys of homeschooling. When you are ready to start, and truly ready to start, don't go buying a bunch of curriculum. Okay. Remember, curriculum is a tool. It is not the end all be all. It is not going to define your homeschool. So look for resources that you can use to meet your educational goals for your kids. We're going to talk about that in a future video. But to start, don't go buying a bunch of curriculum like I did. I wish I could go back in time and tell myself, hey, chill out. You don't need all the things. But when you're starting and it's exciting and you feel unsure, that's something that you kind of lean on to feel like, okay, if I can just follow this program, then we'll be okay. The problem with that is, what if you're not following that program? What if it doesn't work for your kids? What if you don't like it? Then what does that mean? So just don't put too much weight in curriculum, and don't go out and buy a bunch of resources. Spend some time reading together, get books from the library, and find out what resources you can get for free without spending a bunch of money on programs that might not even work for you. As you grow and learn in your homeschool, you'll start to understand how your child learns and what kinds of resources really do work well. And then you can start purchasing curriculums then when you have a better idea of what works for your family. All right, I want to highlight a resource here, the Read Aloud Revival website. This is linked here on the slide. And the Read Aloud Revival website and podcast are wonderful resources for homeschoolers. And what I love about their book lists on the website is that you can select book lists based on season, age, gender, interests, all different kinds of things. And that website has never steered me wrong. Every book I've read that they've recommended, we have loved. So check that out. What I like to do is find a book list, maybe a seasonal one, and just add all those books to my library cart or put them on hold. Then when they're ready, I just go pick them up. I don't have to go searching for them all through the library. And it's a great way for me to get some new books in front of my kids. The other thing you can do in these early years is focusing on educational activities as a family. play games. Board games and card games are great for kids to learn problem solving, creative thinking, critical thinking. Lots of different skills are learned through games. Visit museums, the zoo, the aquarium, go on nature hikes. Like I said before, spend time at the library. Watch some documentaries together. The younger the kids are, the harder that one might be, but find some nature documentaries, some fun history documentaries like The Toys That Built America. And as your kids grow, those things can become really fun tools for learning together. Focus on some projects like putting in a garden or building something together. Don't feel like everything that you do together for school has to be out of a book. Learn how to cook, learn how to do chores. All those things are great learning activities for your kids. Also, don't forget to make time for friends. Friendships in homeschool are so crucial to the longevity of your homeschool, because if you're doing it all on your own, you're going to burn out. Your kids are going to get frustrated, and it's just not going to be something that's fun anymore. So find homeschool programs in your area through Facebook or on Google, and take that scary first step of showing up to something where you don't know anybody, or calling or contacting that mom of the kid that you keep hearing about from your child, and make those connections with people. You never know what those relationships will turn into and how they will help you in the future of your homeschooling career. So definitely make that a priority, and get out and do things together with other homeschoolers. Start small and start at their level. When you start doing school with your kids, if you need to, take some placement tests on homeschool curriculum websites so you know where your child is at, what a good place to start them is. Maybe it's the beginning, but maybe it's not. Try starting with just one subject. Maybe a subject that your kid really likes. Maybe it's science. My kids have always really enjoyed science, and build on that. Our first year homeschooling, I was pregnant with my third, and very tired through most of that year. She was born in December, so I had first half of the year very pregnant and second half with a newborn. And all we did that year was we chose an animal each day, and we learned all about that animal through YouTube, and on websites like Nat Geo for Kids. And we would learn about the animal. We'd pull up a picture. My kids would either color a picture, trace it, or draw their own. And then they would copy down one sentence about that animal. And this really was the perfect school day for my kids. We were diving into something they were interested in. We were reading and writing, and it didn't take very long, but it covered all of the important things. And that's a great way to start out homeschooling in those early years. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Oh, one thing I want to say about that, when I was doing that, I thought, man, I am really phoning it in as a homeschool mom. I am really doing poorly here, because I'm so pregnant. But later looking back on that, that really was like the perfect way to do homeschool in a simple and gentle way for their developmental ability at that time. So I wish I would have appreciated it more at the moment, instead of just thinking, this is all I can muster up. It was actually just perfect for what they needed and what I was able to do. All right, you've got this. It will be okay. Don't let your excitement overwhelm you or your children. Next up, we're going to have a video on deschooling your mindset and keeping the classroom out of your homeschool. So I look forward to seeing you in that video. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Super Simple Homeschool Podcast. Remember, homeschooling isn't easy, but it can be simple. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend. follow, or write a review. Those things really help other listeners find our podcast. I'll see you in the next episode.